Thank you, Sarah. So this is being recorded. So if you know someone that missed out on it, you can always find it on the BA website. My name is Rob Blyden. I'm a benefit marketing rep with the Healthcare Authority. Both Sarah and I are your benefit marketing reps on the SEBB side. So today we're going to talk about preparing for the start of the new school year and what things you need to do, the different type of employees, and so on. So in the agenda today, we're going to talk about a few things that you need to do besides updating the first day of school, determining eligibility for all employees, and terminating those employees that are not going to be eligible for next school year or that are leaving. So we're going to cover this in sections: returning eligible employees, what to do with those, and then employees that are ineligible for SEBB benefits or those that are not returning to your SEBB organization, and then what to do with those newly eligible employees that you're hiring this new school year, and then what to do with transferring employees, how to just giving you that knowledge about appeals for employees that are appealing to the SEBB appeals unit, and then provide you with some SEBB My Account updates, and finally, reminders, tips, and resources. It's beautiful outside. I hope everybody has some plans to get out this weekend and enjoy some of the nice temperatures, decent temperatures. We got through that hot period. So let's talk about some of the actions at the start of the school year. So the first one is this Gov delivery here that came out back in June of last year. And it talks about updating the first day of school before adding newly eligible employees to SEBB My Account. So what this does is it ensures that the coverage effective date is calculated by SEBB My Account correctly. And then keep in mind that the effective date is determined differently in the month of September compared to the rest of the months throughout the year. So for those newly eligible employees whose first day of work is between September 1st and the first day of school, their benefits will begin on the first day of work on that day. And I'm going to give you a couple examples as we get into the newly eligible section. And you can find this under notice and updates on the BA website. We try to maintain every Gov delivery for this year and some for last year, just in case you messed up. So again, updating that first day of school, you want to complete this no later than 1 August of every year. So you can update this anytime throughout the year. So if you know your first day of school is changing in May or March, you can go into SEBB My Account and update it. You don't have to wait till September 1st or August 1st. Also, it'd be a good thing to add a calendar reminder each year that this is something that needs to be done. And updating the first day of school affects those newly hired employees. So if you have multiple first day of schools, you want to enter the latest date. So here's an example. You have a high school, a junior high school, whose first day of school is the 7th of September. And you also have an elementary school whose first day of school is the 15th of September. So in SEBB My Account, you want to enter that latest date of 15 September. And for those educational service districts, you want to enter the first working day in September. You can find more information in the SEBB My Account manual, chapter 2. So what happens if you don't update the first day of school? You forget. So those newly hired employees that you're hiring at the beginning of September, their benefits will not begin until 1 October. So it's really important that you update the first day of school for those newly hired employees. You also want to go into the organizational profile and update or your contact list. You can add and remove contacts. You can assign multiple roles, such as benefit specialist, payroll, superintendent. We ask that you also include an email and phone number. And the reason being is when we need to pick up the phone and contact the benefit administrator to talk about one of their employees' benefits, all we have is your email address under the Managed Access tab. So if we have that phone number under your contact list and it's all updated, we can pick up the phone and talk to you directly. It's probably easier to explain over the phone sometimes compared to sending emails back and forth. And we notice some SEBB orgs, they don't have any information in their contact list. So if you don't have any information, please go into the organizational profile, click on Add Contact and add those staff members in your SEBB org under the contact list.
And just
And
a
those that have
reminder
ready
about,
to let,
I was just going to say, just a reminder about the contact section. This is just a reminder because we're doing this webinar, but this should be happening all throughout the year. This should always constantly be updated and being kept up to date.
Yeah, I think we talked to SEBB org this week, Sarah, and they had old people that that were in there that should have been removed, that have left the SEBB organization. So they should have been removed once they left. So this is something you're going to have to update and maintain throughout the year. And if you need to remove a contact, there's the remove contact button right there on the lower right-hand part of the screen. Just click that and they'll be removed from your organizational profile. All right, so let's talk about those returning eligible employees in accordance to this WAC 3140. How do employees establish eligibility for SEBB benefits? So for those returning eligible employees, their benefits will continue uninterrupted from one school year to the new school year, as long as they're enrolled in SEBB benefits at the end of the school year, 31st. So the school year runs from September 1st to August 31st. Also, they must be determined to be eligible for the next school year and that they're returning to the same SEBB organization. Plan year for SEBB starts from January 1st and ends December 31st. So there is no worksheet notification required if there's no change of eligibility status. So here's an example. An employee is eligible for this current school year, and they're going to be eligible next year for the new school year. You don't need to provide them an eligibility worksheet. Or vice versa, if they're not eligible this school year and they're not going to be eligible in the next school year, they don't require a worksheet. So if there is a change in work status and they're no longer eligible, then yes, they're going to need to be provided a worksheet. Or if there's a change in work status and now they're eligible, again, if there's a change in work status or eligibility status, you need to provide them a worksheet. Every employee should have a worksheet, whether they're eligible or not. So when it comes to returning eligible employees, keep in mind that benefit elections will remain the same till the end of the plan year, which is December 31st. So we're talking about plan selections and their FSA and DCAP contributions. So our next annual open enrollment will be from October 31st to November 21st of this year. New elections, if they made any changes, would be effective January 1st of 2023. So when it comes to making changes, what changes can they make year-round? Well, employees can enroll or change their supplemental life AD&D and employee paid LTD. Keep in mind that evidence of insurability and insurance carrier approval may be required if they make changes to their employee paid LTD. They could submit a special open enrollment event throughout the year. Also, they can change their HSA contributions to include, they can change their tobacco attestation. So there are going to be some times where you may have to use a worksheet for those employees that are being rehired. So in these scenarios, we're talking about ending. In this situation, it's employment ending, and this employee loses eligibility on May 31st. So the SEBB org decides to rehire them in the month of September for the new school year. So what you do is provide them with the appropriate A worksheet as a new hire due to being more than a month break in coverage. From May to September, that's more than a month break in coverage, so they would be considered a newly hired employee, provide the A series worksheet. This employee never had SEBB benefits during the entire current year. And now they're going to be rehired in September of the new school year. So you'd use the D4 worksheet. If determined to be eligible or presumed eligible due to the 2-year look back, employees will receive new elections. So they weren't eligible. They got hired in September. Now it's possible they may be eligible. You want to hire, you want to go ahead and use the D4 worksheet. And in this last scenario here, this employee loses eligibility August 31st. So they lose their benefits August 31st, but you rehire them back in September. So maybe they ended employment August 31st. They said they were leaving. All of a sudden, they said, hey, I think I'm going to come back. And I want to, if you'd like to hire me in September, they come back in September. Now you'd use the D5 worksheet. So if they're determined to be eligible, then you would just go ahead and re-enroll them with no new election, since there is not a break in coverage. So let's talk about those employees that are not going to be eligible for next year or that are not returning. So in accordance to WAC 182-3130, SEBB organizations must routinely monitor school hours. So if you have an employee that's not eligible at the beginning of the school year and they all of a sudden in February, they reach 630 hours, that employee is now eligible for SEBB benefits. So as a SEBB organization, you're required to routinely monitor those hours because you don't want to let that employee know it's May, they should have been eligible back in February. So you want to routinely monitor their hours to see if they've reached. And again, there are other ways that an employee can be eligible for SEBB benefits instead of just being anticipated to work 630 hours. They can stack hours. They could reach 630 hours. They can be a mid-year hire. So there's different ways. Please take a look at the WAC and make sure you're familiarized with how employees can be eligible for SEBB benefits. So here's an example you would use a D3 worksheet. So Joshua was a benefit eligible new teacher for Shelton School District in 21-22 school year. He is returning to work as a teacher to Shelton School District, same school district, for the new year, 22-23. But this time he's not anticipated to work 630 hours in the school year. So what you would do is go ahead and end his benefits August 31st. You would go ahead and complete and provide the D3 series worksheet or the D3 worksheet, and then terminate this employee's coverage in SEBB My Account prior to August 12th cutoff dates. That way on the September billing invoice. And then once you enter their term date in SEBB My Account, the SEBB program will mail them a SEBB continuation coverage notice election no later than 14 days after the term date that's entered in SEBB My Account. And on the D3 worksheet, it has a slot down at the bottom that you could enter the reason why this employee does not meet the 2-year look back rule. So when to terminate coverage, you want to go ahead and terminate coverage no earlier than the month before for employees leaving your SEBB organization or that are not going to be eligible for SEBB benefits the next school year. So here's an example. This employee's last day is August 10th. So you want to go ahead and SEBB My Account and go ahead and enter a term date no earlier than July 1st. Provide the appropriate C worksheet. So for employees losing eligibility, you want to go ahead and terminate their coverage prior to the August 12th cutoff date to be removed from the September billing file. Keep in mind that coverage does not automatically end for employees at the end of the school year, August 31st. If you don't go into SEBB My Account and terminate their coverage, they're just going to continue receiving SEBB benefits into the new school year. So this is one thing besides updating the first day of school, you need to determine eligibility for every employee, whether they're going to continue with SEBB benefits and be eligible, or you're going to need to go in and terminate those employees that are no longer eligible for SEBB benefits. And then you would go ahead and provide the C series worksheet. So when you're correcting termination dates that are within the same month, benefit administrators can go into SEBB My Account and update these dates. They have no effect on the date that coverage ends. So here's an example here. So the date this BA entered, their termination date was May 5th, but they meant to enter May 25th. So the BA can go into SEBB My Account, make the change May 25th. Either way, coverage will end at the end of May 31st. So if you're entering a termination date outside the month that's entered, you want to go ahead and contact and send Outreach and Training a secure message through the HCA support portal. and our outreach and training customer service will update the systems. Here's an example. So the date that was entered was March 5th. The correct date they meant to put in is April 5th, which is the next month. So once you contact outreach and training, they'll make the correction to where coverage will now end April 30th. If you just go into SEBB My Account and you make the change on this, it will not be corrected on the back end, and they'll continue to have a end date of the end of March. Just a reminder for those employees that have already reached 630 hours on the school year, they will maintain coverage through the end of the school year, which is August 31st. Once an employee reaches that 630, they're eligible for the entire school year. Please do not term coverage for those employees that are not working during the summer, such as it's the end of school, June 17th, and you term their coverage. So there are situations where the employer contribution will end earlier. The employment relationship is terminated either by the employer or the employee who submitted their letter of resignation. You can term coverage. If there's a revised work pattern and the employee is no longer anticipated to work that 630 hours, then SEBB benefits will end. If they're late in the year and eligible for SEBB benefits, and then all of a sudden they have a change in work pattern and is no longer eligible, that would be another reason you can end benefits. Also, if they're hired late in the year and are eligible and are no longer anticipated to work 630 hours the next school, and this could apply to some maybe a 9 to 10 month or a 12-month mid-year hire. So they're no longer anticipated to reach 630 hours in the next year. And then finally, returning from approved leave without pay. They either maintained or established eligibility and has a change in work pattern that the work pattern had been in effect at the start of the school year would not have resulted in being anticipated to work 630 hours. And you can find this information under WAC 182-3150. So let's talk about those newly eligible employees that are coming on board with your SEBB organization. So this is a great article, a great Gov delivery that I like to always recommend benefit administrators take a look at it because it's so easy to read and understand. And it talks about, it gives you the definition first of what a date of eligibility is and what the effective date of coverage is. And it gives you examples. So for those employees that are eligible for benefits in August, first day of work is in August, regardless of when the first day of school is. The first day of school can be August 25th. Their benefits are going to begin September 1st. I really love the way they wrote this article. It's really easy to read and understand. So for those employees that are eligible for benefits in September, again, their first day of work is between September 1st and the first day of school. Their benefits begin on the first day of work. So let me give you an example of this. So you have a SEBB org, their first day of work is September 10th. Or correction, their first day of school is September 10th. So you have an employee that's hired and their first day of work is anytime between September 1st and September 10th, then their benefits begin on that day. So if they're hired on September 7th, then their benefits begin on their day, on that day, and their date of eligibility would also be September 7th. So for those employees that are hired on September 11th on, their benefits won't begin until the end of or the first of the following month, which is October 1st. So this is a rule that it's a little different in the month of September. So if you can remember the first day of work between September 1st and whatever your first day of school, the benefits begin on that day. After the first day of school, those benefits will begin on the first of the following month, 1 October. And there's another Gov delivery that was issued this year on April 4th that talks about entering the correct date of eligibility. And it explains what the date of eligibility is, which begins a 31-day window to make benefit elections for those employees. It's not the date those benefits are effective. SEBB My Account will automatically calculate the date benefits are effective based on the date of eligibility that was entered into SEBB My Account. So at no time will you ever enter the effective date or the date coverage begins in SEBB My Account. SEBB My Account will automatically calculate that for you.
And just to add on here, this is a perfect example why we want to make it a best practice that BAs are completing the employee's eligibility worksheet prior to entering that employee into the system. So always, always, always complete the eligibility worksheet before you're entering in your employee into the system, because the worksheet will help you determine if that employee is even eligible. And it's also going to help you distinguish what the eligibility date is and what the effective date of coverage is. And you always want to be sure that you're only putting in the eligibility date into the system.
And I know we also do audits also to make sure that there is a worksheet for every employee that's in the employee's personnel file. So, and that again, that'll act as proof for you that you're providing notice to the employee. So let's take a look at an example here. This eligible employee's first day of work is March 20th. So SEBB My Account will automatically calculate as April 1st to where their coverage would begin, their benefits. So if this BA incorrectly entered April 1st as the date of eligibility, that employee's benefits will now be effective May 1st. So that's why it's important that you understand the definition of the date of eligibility and that you only enter the date of eligibility and not the coverage effective date. This would be bad for the employee and their family. So if you do make an error and you enter the incorrect date, please do not attempt to correct or fix the date that you entered once you hit the submit button. You want to go ahead and send outreach and training a secure message using HCA support, and they will go ahead and enter the correct eligibility, date of eligibility in there. They will make the necessary adjustments. So once you know that you entered the incorrect date of eligibility, please contact our customer service and they will make the adjustment for you. Do not attempt to go in there and try to fix that because it may look fixed on your end, but on the back end of SEBB My Account, it'll still be incorrect.
Therefore, the employee's coverage will not properly take effect. So that's a major one that you
Yes.
always want to make sure that if you input the incorrect date of eligibility, that you're reaching out to us. That's a big rule of thumb. Another thing that I want to address, I've been getting asked a lot is if eligibility worksheets need to be submitted to SEBB. And the answer is no. The eligibility worksheets should be completed by the BA, signed by the employee, and then that signed form should be retained in the employee's file. It is not a requirement that the worksheets are being sent to SEBB. They should not be sent to SEBB unless requested by one of our customer service gals who may need to see that a worksheet was given to an employee if the employee is appealing or in a situation like that. But in general, no, you do not need to be submitting or uploading the eligibility worksheets to SEBB.
And these eligibility worksheets have been designed to have all the requirements in accordance to the policy them in already. So it does everything. It auto populates. It lets the employee know when they're 31 days in. It also gives them some continuation coverage information if they're not eligible. And it also requires their signature at the bottom, so they can't say, well, I was never notified. I didn't know when my 31 days was over, because it tells you right there, it auto populates. So that's a great thing to get in the habit of using. So when determining eligibility, so employees who are anticipated to work 630 hours in the school year, you want to go ahead and provide them a series worksheet as written notification. And when you're anticipating these hours for determining eligibility, you want to include all hours worked in the capacity as an employee of your SEBB organization. Also, all hours worked if they worked multiple positions, which is called stacking hours within the same SEBB organization. So they can't take 200 hours from another SEBB org and 200 hours from yours and say, well, hey, I'm now eligible. It must be from the same SEBB organization. Such as if they're working as a coach with your SEBB organization and they've completed 400 hours and they work in another position and they completed the additional 230 hours, then they're eligible for benefits as long as it's within the same SEBB org and compensated by the SEBB org, such as approved leave, sick leave, personal leave, bereavement leave, or those paid holidays. So newly hired employees, again, have 31 days after their date of eligibility to complete their enrollment. So you notice how I underlined that after. So if an employee's date of eligibility is June 15th, their 31-day actually starts on June 16th. So it's after their date of eligibility. So they actually kind of have 32 days to get in there and make their elections. So you can't make enrollment elections until their date of eligibility has been reached. So let's take a look at an example here. So their date of eligibility is September 9th for this employee. So as a benefit administrator, you can go in prior to September 9th and go ahead and enter that employee's information. So when September 9th comes around, that'll allow the employee to start going in, adding dependents, uploading documents, and making plan elections. And on October 10th, which is 31 days after September 9th, is their deadline to make elections. And then finally, elections will be defaulted on the 32nd day, or October 11th in this case, which means they'll be defaulted to the default plans for the SEBB program for medical, dental, vision. And I believe that's UMP Achieve 2, MetLife, and UDP, Uniform Dental Plan. I think I'm correct on that, Sarah.
You are.
All right, so notification should be provided within a reasonable time frame. All eligible employees must have no less than 10 calendar days after the date receiving notice, after the date they received notice from you to elect coverage. So let's take a look at this example here. So this person's date of eligibility is September 3rd. So if they're notified no later than September 24th, their election deadline would be October 4th. That gives them 10 days. So what if they're notified after September 24th, such as September 30th? Their deadline election will be October 10th, which gives them 10 days to make elections. So again, no less than 10 calendar days that employee will have after they're notified to make their elections. And then after day 31, which is October 4th, the employee must submit a complete enrollment form to their benefit administrator or benefit office. And then you get the pleasure of entering elections manually for this employee in SEBB My Account. So again, it's really important that their date of eligibility, again, that's on the worksheet. They know what their date of eligibility is. They know when their deadline is and when they have to make their elections.
This is a perfect example as to why you want to give the eligibility worksheet prior on the employee's date of eligibility. And then one other thing that I want to point out, the default plan is for medical is UMP Achieve 1. It's not UMP Achieve 2.
Oh, it's Achieve 1. Okay.
Yep, Achieve 1. Sorry about that.
Appreciate
and thank you. Yeah, thank you for those who let me know.
So it's good that you notify the employee when their date of eligibility ends so they can go in there and create their account, start making their plan elections. So what happens if you don't notify them timely? So if you don't timely enter eligibility in SEBB My Account, or if you don't timely provide written notification of eligibility, providing that worksheet. So what happens? So then you have to provide a paper enrollment form to that employee. You have to manually enter their elections in SEBB My Account. And we always recommend that employees go into SEBB My Account and make their own elections because you all are pretty busy. You have enough work already to stop and start manually entering paper enrollment forms in SEBB My Account. And if it's too late, then you possibly might begin the error correction process. And you want to contact our customer service representatives. We have a team that works on nothing but error corrections, and they'll help you develop a letter and make sure that the employee is whole again. An error correction is something that an error was made on the SEB organization side, not the employee side. So let's talk about the SEB My Account process when entering newly eligible employees. So you have two options. You can manually enter each employee, which is the preferred method, or you can upload an eligibility file, which requires specific file specifications. It's a upload of your new employees, and errors may occur. So I know we used the eligibility file when we first started the SEB programs, first started training new BAs back in August 2019, because you were first coming on where you were mandated by the state to come on to SEB. And that was great. There were a lot of errors that SEB orgs were experiencing. So that isn't, now that we're past that, we're already 2 years past that. The preferred method is that you manually enter. That way you could make sure it's correctly done. And then when you're adding new employees, you only want to add newly eligible employees. We've had benefit administrators that have added employees into SEB My Account that weren't eligible for SEB benefits. And you want to provide that timely notification. You want to enter them as a new subscriber, and you want to do that before the date of eligibility. And make sure that you enter the correct date of eligibility. You will never enter the date coverage begins in SEB My Account. Let me say that again. You will never enter the date coverage begins or the effective date in SEB My Account. SEB My Account will automatically determine and calculate this for you off the date of eligibility that's entered. So the eligibility file upload, again, it's a bulk upload for new employees on specific file specifications that I talked about. And you can find the tile on the dashboard of SEB My Account. And if you do make an error, it'll show you the errors and the explanation of the errors on that report. Please do not include employees that are already in SEB My Account. If you do a bulk upload, it'll just duplicate an account for that employee. So now that employee has two accounts inside SEB My Account. SEB organizations can enter newly eligible employees in SEB My Account, again, before their date of eligibility. So I wouldn't enter them 5 months out or 6 months out. I would say about a month, right, Sarah? About a month in advance if you want to enter them that early.
Yep. I think it's the first of the month prior is as early as you can add someone.
And keep in mind that employees will not show up on your monthly invoice until their date of eligibility is reached. So let's take a look at an example here. Again, their date of eligibility is September 15th. Add to SEB My Account prior to September 15th. Now, employees can go in, they can add dependents, upload their eligibility documents, dependent documents, and then they can also make plan elections starting September 15th. So October 16th would be their 31-day deadline. And then October 17th, they would default. If they did nothing at all and didn't make any elections, they would automatically default to the UMP Achieve 1 and the UDP and the MetLife. So when adding them, you'll always just want to click Add New Subscriber, enter their Social Security number and their date of eligibility. So you want to get this right the first time. Again, you can't change your date of eligibility once you enter and hit that next button. You're going to have to contact Outreach and Training to where they can go in there and change that on the back end. And again, the date of eligibility is when the employee established eligibility for the employer contribution towards SEB benefits. And then once you click next, it'll bring you to the screen here to where you would enter the employee's name, first name, last name, social security number, date of birth, sex assigned, gender identity, eligibility type. Is the employee represented? So if the employee is represented by a union and they're part of a collective bargaining agreement, then you would answer yes to that. If they're not, then you would answer no. Eligibility reason, they're anticipated to work 6:30, whatever the reason is. You would also enter the hire date. So the hire date is the date the employee was first hired with the SEB org. So that could be, maybe you hired an employee a month out. So that would be the hire date. And then their date of eligibility typically is the first day of work when they actually start working with your SEB org. The effective start date is the date when the employee became represented again Because that field is right next to, a lot of BAs get confused between the effective date and the effective start date. So keep in mind, the effective date is when benefits begin, and you will never enter that into SEBB My Account. So this effective start date is the date that the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, because they're part of a union, whatever date is on that CBA, that's the date that you would enter in there. And again, that date of eligibility will automatically populate from the previous screen that you entered the date of eligibility and their social security number. So that automatically populate. Here's a note here. The effective date of coverage is the date that benefits begin and is automatically calculated based off of the date of eligibility entered. You never want to enter this date in SEBB My Account. So if you have an enrolled dependent that becomes a newly eligible employee, all you would do is go ahead and enter them into SEBB My Account by adding them as a new subscriber and their social security number. You'll get this pop-up message saying the subscriber has existing SEBB coverage as a dependent. Enrolling this subscriber will automatically replace existing dental and vision coverage once the effective date is reached. The subscriber may waive medical coverage if they choose to stay on the medical coverage as a dependent. So again, SEBB My Account will automatically term their dependent's dental and vision coverage. That subscriber can waive medical coverage if they want to continue with the dependent medical coverage, or they can elect whatever medical coverage they want as a newly eligible employee. But you must contact whoever their subscriber was as a dependent, and they have to cancel their medical coverage. So this subscriber can go in and select their own medical coverage. An SOE is not required to remove a dependent. So let's talk about transferring employees. So there are some rules that qualify as a person transferring from one SEBB org to the next. So if they're eligible, you want to go ahead and review and provide the A5 transfer worksheet. So if they're not eligible, you want to go ahead and provide the appropriate A series worksheet. So let's talk about some of the eligibility rules. So benefits will continue uninterrupted if they're moving from one SEBB org to the next within the same month or following month, which means they don't have a break in coverage, and they're anticipated to be eligible for SEBB benefits at the new SEBB organization. So if they're not going to be eligible at the new SEBB organization, then they're not a transfer. You would just issue them a appropriate A worksheet. And if there's a break in coverage and it's not within the same month or following month, again, they would be issued an appropriate A worksheet. And there's no new elections for those that are transferring unless the health plan is no longer available at the new SEBB organization that they're moving to. And that would be a special open enrollment for them to select new plans. Other than that, as a transfer, there's no new elections. Come open enrollment, they can make new elections of January 1st of the following year. So when you're adding newly eligible employee who has been transferred, terminated by previous SEBB org, in SEBB My Account, you want to go ahead and add them as a new subscriber, enter their social security number. And once you do that, you click next, it'll pop up a transfer record found showing that the employee is already in the system. All you have to do is click the claim button right there. And now the employee will be transferred to your new SEBB organization.
And one thing about transfers, I just want to come in here. If you are not 100% positive that that employee that is transferring from your district and going to a new district, if you are not 100% positive that that employee is eligible for benefits at the receiving district, term that employee out. And then if the employee does end up being eligible for benefits and they are a transfer, even though you term that employee out, the receiving district will still be able to claim that employee's account, and the system will recognize that employee should be a transfer. So when in doubt, term them out. That's my little rule of thumb that I always say.
I was going to ask you to say that saying again. You said it before.
Yes. So when in doubt, term your employee out. Don't transfer them unless you're 100% positive that they are eligible for benefits at their new district.
Yes, definitely. So you're probably asking, how do I know if they're eligible at the new school district, right? So we'll get into that in a couple of slides. So when you're transferring employees who's been transferred or termed by previous SEBB org, SEBB my account, you want to go ahead and fill out all the information here, the eligibility reason, the eligibility type. Again, their date of eligibility will automatically be put in on the previous screen. And then the hire date that they're going to be hired with your new SEBB org, and is the employee represented. Hit submit changes. So for school employee who has not been transferred or terminated in SEBB my account, that's leaving your SEBB org. So this is the SEBB organization that they're leaving. You have two choices. Before transferring them, you can access your benefit admin contact list and look for that report. It's a new BA contact list that you could find information for the new SEBB org that they're going to, and you want to go ahead and confirm eligibility with the new SEBB organization. So that's a lot of work, and I know you all are pretty busy. And it looks like this. You got the contact list in SEBB my account for all benefit administrators that are with each SEBB organization. And you can pick up the phone, or you could email them and find out, hey, is this person going to be eligible at your school district? I was going to transfer them, or I was going to term them out. Like Sarah said, when in doubt, term them out. So terminate SEBB benefits, not as a transfer. The SEBB organization can claim that account as a transfer. So whether you transfer them or you term them, the new SEBB organization can go in there and claim that account. So for those employees that have no access to SEBB my account, probably they don't have internet out where they live, or bad internet, or they don't like using the computer system, keep in mind that employees can always submit the paper form to their benefit administrator's office. So for newly employees, you want to go ahead and submit that school employee enrollment form for 2022. And these forms are going to change when we start getting into the after open enrollment. You'll start seeing the forms online start changing for 2023. But for 2022, you can go ahead and use these forms here all the way till December 31st. And for those existing employees, you want to go ahead and use the school employees change form, and employees can submit those to their benefit office if they have no access or don't want to use SEBB my account. And we always try to recommend employees use SEBB my account to do the work. Makes it easier on you. You all are pretty busy. So let's talk about appeals. And an appeal really is an employee's responsibility. And you can find more information in WAC 18230/2020. So just talking about SEBB appeals unit, the employee is appealing to the SEBB appeals unit, not to your SEBB organization. So those employees have no later than 30 days after the date the SEBB program's written notice to respond and submit an appeal back to the SEBB appeals unit. If they fail within this 30 days to submit an appeal, the final decision is whatever the final order without further action. So whatever decision was made by the SEBB appeals unit, if you don't appeal to the SEBB appeals unit, then that final decision is final. So on here, it also says, don't use the employee's request or review notice of appeals form. Again, they're appealing to the SEBB appeals unit, so they don't need to use that form. If they're appealing to a decision that your SEBB org made, then they would complete that form. They have 30 days. And again, this doesn't involve you as a SEBB organization. This is on the employee, and it's their responsibility. So here's the scenario. School employee receives a mailed letter from the SEBB program indicating that they're required to pay the spousal surcharge due to failing to reattest during open enrollment. So the letter that they're going to get from the SEBB appeals unit has specific instructions on what they need to do to appeal directly to the SEBB program. All they have to do is follow those specific appeal instructions within that letter and respond within 30 days. The BA should not reply on behalf of the employee. And these letters are sent directly to the employee's home address. Has all the instructions they need to appeal, to the SEBB Appeals Unit. So let's talk about any updates to my account. And there is one update. There was a Gov delivery that was sent just yesterday. Hopefully you all got it. Hopefully you all also got the copy of these slides that I sent out yesterday. You can follow along. So there's a Gov delivery that was sent out yesterday that talks about the reinstate subscriber button was removed as of July 29th. So in this Gov delivery, there includes a link on the process to re-enroll employees that you termed or transferred out in error. So when you go to the employment page for this subscriber, you'll see a new message right there on the bottom there saying that this subscriber has previously termed or transferred, and it gives you instructions. So we did play this video in the last webinar, and you can take a look at this Gov delivery to review that video and tell you everything you need to do for those employees that were termed or transferred out in error.
One thing I want to point out with the questions feature, I'm getting a lot of follow-up questions, and it doesn't keep a live feed of our whole conversation, so it's hard for me to keep up. So if you're needing to go back and forth, please send in an HCA support ticket or give us a phone call, because I'm not able to see past answered questions in terms of and keep up with all of the ones that are coming in. So I apologize for this if I'm not able to get back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. That gave me time to drink water. I had something in my throat. All right. So take a look at that Gov delivery. Again, that reinstate subscriber button is no longer in SEBB My Account. Take a look at this video on the new process. So finally, some tips, reminders, and resources. So there have been a lot of changes within the SEBB program. So again, our biggest resource is going to the BA website. When we do training, we take you through the entire BA website, show you all the resources, where you can find information on there. We also show you where the WACs are, the policies are. So take a look at the BA website where you probably registered for this webinar. Also, if you have further questions, you can always contact our outreach and training for guidance at 1-800-700-1555. Or you can send us a secure message through the HCA support portal. So this is an update to the SEBB My Account admin appointment and removal form. This has finally been updated. And with this form, you can submit admin removal via HCA support, or you can go ahead and send this to the email screen there, HCA SEBB IT support at hca.wa.gov. So this form was updated finally. It allows you to have 2 slots at the top there to add someone with admin rights, or to remove 2 names from there of BAs that have still been in your system in SEBB My Account that have probably left or are no longer an admin or need admin rights. So you can enter 2 forms in there. And then finally, with the superintendent's information, their name, first name, last name, their signature, and date. And then hit that submit button, or you can go ahead and send that to the email address there. So for those with admin, you can assign and remove user roles. So we have talked to a couple BAs, and they had people in there that have left their SEBB organization that are still in there. So as a benefit administrator, you're not authorized, or it won't allow you to remove anyone with admin rights. You'll notice it's grayed out. So again, you can contact our outreach and training, send this form, or you can go ahead and email this form to that email address there. So for those that are not admin or have admin rights, the admin can actually assign or remove user roles such as access management that allows you to use a dissociate subscriber button. You can edit, finance, or read-only access. You can do that. You can check the box to remove it, or you can add them. You don't need a form for that. You don't need a signature. Someone with admin rights within your SEBB org can do those functions there. And there was a Gov delivery sent out on May 30th that's talking about uploading Navia files to SEBB My Account, which is no longer done. You now have to access the Navia Employer portal and create a SAW account using your work email address. And you can upload your deductions for your FSA and DCAP to the Navia Employer Portal. And this allows you to view and edit employee demographic information, add and terminate employees' FSA and DCAP enrollments. You can securely upload documents to the Navia Employer Portal up to 10 megabytes, and securely upload monthly payroll files directly to Navia instead of loading them into SEBB account and then sending them. You're going directly to the Navia portal now. And this was effective on July 13th. So when you go to the FSA and DCAP tile on SEBB account and you click on it, you'll see this yellow box here saying as of July 13th, you now have to upload your files to the Navia Employer Portal. Another change was as of June 2nd, employees now have to create a SAW account in Secure Access Washington to be able to access their SEBB account. So now that we're getting kind of close to open enrollment, this is something good to send out to all your employees, letting them know to go ahead and do this now instead of waiting to prior before open enrollment. And this allows them to be able to get in their account. A lot of employees don't go in their account until prior to open enrollment. They probably don't access their account for the entire year until prior to open enrollment. So now they have to create a SAW account. This is probably something good they want to do before open enrollment approaches. So Fuse was replaced with HCA support. I like the system better. It gives you good communication between outreach and training and the person sending the request. It keeps you up to date on comments that are added. You'll always get email notifications, probably more than what you want, but this is a great system to use now. Again, Fuse was deactivated as of July 21st. Again, BAs must use HCA support to send questions, forms, and documents. Again, you don't want to do this through your email. You don't want to send social security numbers, birth certificates, and stuff like that through your regular email. You want to use a secure messaging system here. And then all those closed and unresolved Fuse messages will still be available in HCA support. Our IT team is working hard to transfer those old Fuse messages over to our HCA support application. And links to the HCA support can be found where the old Fuse was on the BA website. It now says HCA support at the top tab there. And this link is the only way you can get into HCA support. You can't go to Secure Access Washington and try to access this. You have to go through this link first, which will take you to your SAW account to verify who you are, and then it'll take you to the portal, the HCA supporter, where you can start submitting your request. This is not a service at this time that you can currently add to your Secure Access Washington. So there is a HCA support quick reference guide that's out. You'll find that on the quick reference guide and training. Check on manuals, and you'll find it at the very bottom there under HCA support, right there. And that'll give you the basics of creating your account, creating your SAW account, and getting into the HCA support portal. And from then on, it's pretty simple process of selecting SEBB, talking about what subject, and then in detail what your request is about. You can also add up to 5 documents to that. I think it's like 125 megabytes, which is more than enough. And this is what the guide looks like right here. So if you need to take a look at that guide, it's there on the BA website. There is a SEBB account employee user guide for those newly hired employees that are new to SEBB account. This is a quick reference guide that you could hand them that show them how to use SEBB account for those new employees. It's on the BA website under manuals, then SEBB account, or you can go under quick reference guide and it's under the employee checklist. And that's what it looks like right there. How to use SEBB account. So it's step-by-step instructions and photos to help guide them through creating their SEBB account. Also earlier, In our previous webinars, we talked about the refreshed look of the HCA website. We're talking about the SEBB, the employee SEBB employee website. Well, this was postponed till mid-September, so you won't see that look. You'll still see this look until mid-September, and then it'll change over. It'll still be the same URL for the SEBB and the employee website and the HCA homepage. Navigation might be a little different, but once you go to the new site in mid-September, it'll provide you with a tour on understanding how to navigate the new site. Also, Alex, as of there was a Gov delivery sent June 23rd. So as of September 30th, Alex will no longer be available. And Alex was used to help school employees make their decisions on which medical, dental, vision plans that were best for them. So that's going away, but HCA is developing an HCA comparison tool that'll be available on October 1st for school employees to go in and do the same thing that Alex was doing, help them make choices with their medical, dental, vision plans. And there will be a affordable message that will be sent in September for your employees. So for school employees that are going to access their FSA and DCAP accounts with the Navia website, they now must create a SAW account. And this will be October 5th. That's going to be required. So this is something they also want to do to access their FSA and DCAP accounts with Navia. This is effective October 5th. And as always, we are conducting and hosting monthly retiree webinars for those that are getting ready to retire. We did send out a Gov Delivery January of this year. And we are hosting these every month throughout the 2020-22. And we're also going to be providing these monthly webinars in 2023 as well. So if you know somebody that's getting ready to retire, I would highly advise about 3 to 6 months before they're getting ready to retire to attend one of these webinars, because they fill up. I think they have a max capacity of 500. So we have had 500 maxed out at one point, but the earlier the better. Going to the retiree website on the HCA website, you can find retirees, attend a webinar, and go ahead and register for one of these monthly webinars. And I would recommend benefit administrators to at least attend one, even if they're not retiring, because the employee is going to come to you first. At least you have a general knowledge and where you can point them to, where to find the PEB retiree guide, or where to find answers, or where to register for this retiree webinar we hold each month. And it is the PEB retiree webinar, but keep in mind that SEBB program doesn't have a retiree insurance. So school employees and public employees are eligible under the PEB retiree insurance. We get a lot of school employees. I'm on the wrong one. Well, school employees are also eligible for the PEB retiree health insurance. We talk about eligibility requirements with DRS. We provide you with medical dental plan options to include their premiums. And we talk about the enrollment process when they're enrolling in Medicare, when they need to enroll in this, when they need to contact DRS, and so on. And we talk about their premium payment options now that they're getting ready to retire. What options do they have? What are they going to do with their life insurance? We talk about that too. Also available to BAs. We are providing BAs with training. So if you have new BAs coming into your SEBB org, we are providing one-on-one training. Just go ahead and send a secure message through HCA support. Attention, outreach and training requests, and then provide those dates and times that you're going to be available, how many hours you would like to spend, and the subjects that you would like to talk about. So if you're unclear about something, regardless whether you're a new BA or a BA that's been in the position for a while, we provide one-on-one training. We'll send you an invite, and we can do a question answer session at the very end. And if you have difficulties with SEBB My Account or the BA website or HCA support application, we'll do an overview on understanding that better. So send us a secure message through HCA support portal.
Yep, so this is available to all new and existing BAs. So I just want to stress that we are here to support you. So if you would like to do like a one-on-one training, we can definitely get that set up, and we can go over our basic overview. We can go over specific topics, whatever would help you in your role as a BA.
And if you haven't subscribed for Gov Deliveries, you can do that on the BA website under updates and notices, or notice and updates. There is a black button on there to sign up for Gov Deliveries. So a lot of you all probably been waiting on this. So this is the 2022 HCA Benefit Fair schedule. This is where we're going to be in person. And most of the benefit fairs for SEBB run from 4 o'clock to 7 p.m., except the one that's in Pasco. That's going to run from 3 to 6. So keep in mind that we're doing both PEB benefit fairs in the morning and SEBB benefit fairs in the evening. So PEB benefit fairs will run prior to the SEBB benefit fairs. So if you come too early, you might receive information on PEB benefits when you were there for SEBB benefit information. So just keep that in mind. And there's also going to be vendors, carriers that are going to be providing presentations during the benefit fairs. And I'm sure as we get closer to these dates here, there's going to be a Gov Delivery showing the location where these benefits are going to be held. They will not be held at any school districts or SEBB organizations. And upcoming webinars, a real one on October 14th is our SEBB pre-annual open enrollment. Here we're going to be talking about all the changes for 2023. The health plan changes, whether it be medical, dental, we're going to be sharing the new premiums for 2023. And then on the October 28th, Navia is going to present the FSA and DCAP benefits for their open enrollment webinar. And this is tentative, that date may change. And we're also going to provide you with some important dates of when the SEBB open enrollment website will be open for school employees to go in there and start taking a look at some of the information, such as when these vendors are going to be holding their webinars for them, just like we had last year. And you can register for these webinars at the same place on the BA website under training schedule. All these webinars are being recorded and are posted on the BA website under training materials, miscellaneous topics at the very bottom. So after this webinar, you will receive another email. And again, this is just a questionnaire survey for you. So we would appreciate you answering that survey, that brief survey. We would greatly appreciate your feedback. So with that said, that concludes this webinar. Sarah, what questions do we have?
Yes, so we have a few pending questions still.
Okay.
If you have any questions that pertain to this webinar, please get those sent in. We'll hang out for a little bit. But as far as the benefit fairs go, we do have those 7 locations. We tried to make them pretty central to where people could travel if wanted. But we are also doing the electronic open enrollment website. So that's also going to be available to those employees who are not able to attend any of the SEBB sponsored webinar, or not webinars, sorry, SEBB sponsored benefit fairs. And if your district is having their own individual school district webinar, you can invite the carriers to attend your webinar. Us here at SEBB, we do not have the resources to attend those types of webinar or those types of benefit fairs. I don't know why I keep saying webinar, but you can invite the carriers to attend and have a table at your benefit fair. The OE training should be available, I would say in the next 2.5 weeks. We will be sending out a Gov Delivery letting you know when that registration has been opened. So be sure you're registered for Gov Delivery. Again, you can sign up for Gov Delivery on the BA website. And we'll send that out, letting you know when the registration has been opened. The benefit fairs, we have a question. What is at the benefit fair? So at the benefit fair, it is SEBB will have a table for questions and answers. And then we also invite all of the different carriers that provide benefits to SEBB to have a table, and they will have handouts. They're there for Q&A for all of the employees to attend. So we have in-person benefit fairs this year. So Rob and I will be on the road for a couple weeks, traveling around the state, putting on benefit fairs with all the carriers. And then there's also the website for the open enrollment, the electronic benefit fair that employees can also look at.
And Brandy had a question about the location. So the locations haven't been set in stone. That's why we haven't shared those yet, but we did share what town or what city those benefit fairs are going to be at. So once we get that, I'm sure that'll be sent out in a Gov delivery.
So SEBB My Account has had issues with employees who are reestablishing coverage if they had previously elected continuation coverage or COBRA. We were told paper forms must be completed and no data entered into My Account. I am going to have to follow up on that, Nicole. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't work in like the IT department for SEBB My Account. So I'm going to leave that one open, and we will follow up with you next week once we get an answer.
And these are the locations where we're going to have those benefit fairs here. So I see a question, is there going to be one at the Olympic Peninsula? So these are the locations that we are giving that the benefit fairs will be held at.
Yeah, sorry. Our manager had to kind of make generalized locations. I know we're not able to get close to everyone, but we do have that online benefit fair that employees can attend if they're not able to travel. We are getting requests from other school districts to transfer out employees who have already terminated. They want us to hire them back and then transfer them. But that would mess up our district's dates and SEBB My Account. So if you are trying to claim an employee who was termed out, the district that employee came from should not rehire them and then transfer them out. Districts who are receiving a new employee who previously was with a previous district, you should have no problem claiming that employee's account. If the employee happens to be a transfer, the system will recognize that and will reestablish the benefits, the employee's benefit elections. So if you are having troubles claiming an employee's account who was termed by another district, again, do not contact that district and ask them to rehire them and transfer them. That is not the process. That's going to mess up that employee's coverage. So you should be contacting HCA support if you're having troubles claiming an employee's record. But remember the saying, when in doubt, term them out. So if you are terming someone in the system and they say they're going to another district, you do not want to transfer them unless you are 100% certain that that employee is going to be eligible for benefits at the new district. So if you are not 100% sure, you're not able to get a hold of that district, you don't have time to reach out to that district, please just term that employee out. The receiving district will be able to claim that employee's record. What time will the benefit fair be for PEB employees? So I believe it is 11 to 3, 12 to 3.
Yeah, it's an hour before us.
Mhm.
So I think it might be 12 to 3, because ours are what, 3 hours?
Yeah,
So it
there
might
is
be
one
12
that's
to 3,
Mhm,
and then
there's
3 to 4 is going to be that transition period.
Yep. So right before hours. All right, just seeing comments. I'm not seeing any other questions. We'll hang out for just a little bit longer before concluding the webinar.